Welcome to the Explainer. Right now, we're seeing a massive structural shift happening in enterprise AI, and today, we're going to dive right into it. We're dissecting the profound trade-offs of hosting your own AI models. It's all about unpacking that really delicate balance between having absolute, total power over your technology and the immense responsibility that comes along with it. So think about this for a second. What actually happens when the core intelligence, the literal brain of a highly capable, ridiculously powerful AI, is made freely available for anyone, anywhere to just download? We're moving away from this era where a handful of big tech companies held all the keys. Now, you can download a state-of-the-art AI straight onto your own servers. But what does that actually mean for your business, your data, and honestly, your security? Okay, let's get our definition straight first, so we're all on the same page. When you hear the term open weight model, what we're talking about is a machine learning model where the creators have publicly released the trained parameters. These parameters, or weights, are the actual numerical values the AI learned during training. They're the secret sauce that dictates exactly how the AI behaves. By putting these weights out there, developers are basically saying, here, you can download, run, and even completely modify this model locally.
To unpack this landscape, here's our quick roadmap. Demystifying open weight, the advantages of control, hidden costs and complexities, security and misuse risks, and finally, the strategic trade-off.
All right, Section 1, Demystifying Open Weight AI. Let's get into what it actually means.
So, there's this massive myth floating around the AI industry right now that we really need to bust. We have to understand that open weight is absolutely not the same thing as fully open source. People use those terms like they're interchangeable, but they're incredibly different. With an open weight model, yes, you get the weights and the code to run it, but the original training data, the exact recipes used to build it, the data provenance, that stuff is usually kept strictly locked down by the creators. Fully open source means total, top-to-bottom transparency, which, to be honest, is super rare in cutting-edge AI today.
If you picture the whole landscape as a spectrum, open weight models sit perfectly in that middle ground. On the far left, you've got closed API models. Think of the big proprietary ones where you're just stuck behind a cloud interface. You can't see the engine at all. You just get the outputs. Then, on the far right, you've got fully open source. But right there in the center, that's open weight. You get the brain, which gives you incredible freedom, but you don't necessarily get the blueprints for how that brain was built.
Section 2. The advantages of control. Why are organizations actually taking on the headache of hosting these massive models? Well, the biggest perk here by far is total sovereignty. When you run an open weight model on your own hardware, you get absolute data privacy. Your sensitive enterprise info never actually leaves your secure servers, which is a total game changer if you're dealing with GDPR or HIPAA. You also get cost efficiency at scale. You can finally say goodbye to those pesky per-token API fees. Plus, no vendor lock-in. You're completely insulated from sudden price hikes, models getting deprecated out of nowhere, or a provider just deciding to change their acceptable use policy overnight.
And because you have that level of control, you can do some really cool stuff, like fine-tuning. Since you literally hold the weights, you can tweak them. You can take a broad jack-of-all-trades model and turn it into a hyper-specialized domain expert. Whether you need an AI that just gets dense legal contracts, complex medical jargon, or even just your own quirky internal company acronyms, open weights make that deep level of customization possible. You aren't just renting an AI anymore, you're molding it.
Moving on to Section 3, Hidden Costs and Complexities. Because, spoiler alert, free weights are definitely not free to run in the real world.
The hardware demands for these things are honestly kind of wild. Look at the numbers. To just load the weights of a 70 billion parameter model, you need about 140 gigabytes of memory. And remember, that's just to hold the model in memory before you even type hello into the prompt. If you want to run one of the massive 400 billion parameter models, you're looking at 800 gigabytes of memory. This forces massive, eye-watering capital investments in high-end enterprise GPUs, which are incredibly expensive and, frankly, sometimes hard to even get your hands on right now. So, yeah, the hidden cost shifts from a nice, predictable monthly API bill to a massive engineering burden. You're going to need specialized MLOps folks, machine learning operations experts. Your team has to build and manage the serving pipelines, figure out how to scale it for multiple users, and handle manual safety updates. Oh, and don't even get me started on the commercial licensing, because just because the weights are open absolutely does not mean you have unrestricted commercial use.
Which brings us to Section 4, Security and Misuse Risks. This is where things get really high stakes.
There's a quote from the research that hits the nail on the head, and it's this: model ownership is not the same thing as system security. It's a huge, dangerous misconception. Just because a model is sitting safely behind your corporate firewall does not magically make it bulletproof. Hosting it on-prem doesn't protect you from sophisticated prompt injections, internal data leaks, or an employee accidentally stumbling into sensitive HR data through a poorly designed retrieval system.
Actually, by downloading these files, you're opening up entirely new vectors of attack. If you blindly grab a model off the internet, you are exposing your company to a severe supply chain risk. Once those weights are out in the wild, anyone can modify them. A bad actor could have easily poisoned those files, hidden a backdoor in the code, or completely stripped away the safety filters that stop the AI from doing really harmful stuff.
Now, take that risk and multiply it exponentially. When we step into the world of AI agents, where the AI actually has autonomy, it gets scary fast. Imagine giving a compromised model access to your internal databases, your APIs, and letting it run persistently in the background. The security threat multiplies based on how capable the model is, how much autonomy you give it, the tools it can touch, and its permissions. It's a compounding risk.
Okay, final section, number 5, the strategic trade-off. With all these superpowers and all these risks, how do you actually make the right call?
It really boils down to a pretty straightforward rule of thumb. You want to lean towards open-weight models when your absolute top priorities are maximum data control, deep, nitty-gritty customization, and completely avoiding vendor lock-in. But on the flip side, you should probably opt for closed APIs if your priority is launching fast, keeping your engineering team's burden as low as possible, and letting a massive tech company handle the stress of the security architectures.
So, the core takeaway from this entire explainer is this. When you adopt open-weight models, you are successfully trading vendor dependence for control. But, and it's a huge but, that control means 100% of the responsibility lands squarely on your shoulders. The operational burden, the scaling, the entire security attack surface, it's all yours now. You are basically becoming the AI provider for your own company.
Which leaves us with one massive, lingering question as you figure out your AI architecture. You have the power to possess the literal brain of the AI, but are you truly prepared for it? Are you ready to establish a bulletproof supply chain and actually build the constraints needed to manage an autonomous AI running on your own servers? It's an incredible, exciting frontier for sure, but it's one you've got to step into with your eyes wide open. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I hope it helps you navigate the wild world of open-weight AI.